I never thought that this one thing could delay an entire $10 million project and cause us to possibly open up later, which means we're just gonna be burning cash every day. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Let me dive into the construction update for Salt Ranch, my boutique hotel here in East Nashville. By the way, if you have not seen our other updates on Salt Ranch, that will give you a little bit of context as to what we're dealing with. So check out this video here, or maybe in the description below. I'm exhausted. It's been a long weekend. I had our first in-person ever Siri Accelerator Mastermind event in Nashville, and we came in towards Salt Ranch, so I figured we'd walk you guys through today as well, so we can see what's going on here. All of the interior demo has been completed across all 5 buildings.
Demo takes pretty much the longest because it feels like nothing is happening forever. This is the point in the project when the site starts to get really dirty. And as a developer, I hate seeing that. Very important for you to stay on top of your trades as they're going through. That way they're picking up their own trash as they go.
When it was renovated probably in the 80s or 90s, they covered up a lot of the really interesting, cool architectural aspects of this building.
You really kind of get to see a story of what has gone on, because at some point, all of this brick was added on, and then at some point after that, it was cut through and new brick was added to create a doorway. I don't know, maybe just a nerdy thing for me.
We uncovered a lot of bullshit when we started tearing out the walls.
Where we had to really do a lot of work was on the bathrooms, because somebody at some point didn't do the waterproofing properly. And so you'll see we've got all new studs. And here on the floor, where we had to just replace everything, it was rotted beyond reuse.
There were termite damaged 2x4s. They were holding, well, they weren't holding anything actually.
That's a little bit damaged. And that's something that we need to bring up to the framers. They've been in here, so I don't know why they didn't address it. You're putting your budget together. Like I said, there's some items that you just can't really account for. That's what your contingency line item is for when you're putting together a pro forma. Typically, it's anywhere from around 5% to 10% of the total project costs. You have to do that when you're doing projects like this, because you have no idea what you're gonna find behind that plaster, behind that drywall, underneath the subfloor, up in the attic. And if you don't have that built in already, then you have to go back to the bank or back to your investors and ask for more money. Nobody's ever happy when you do that.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
The site work is also about to begin here pretty shortly. I have been waiting on our local electrical utilities to get out there and move some of the telephone poles. As soon as those poles are gone, that means that we can actually start moving dirt on site, which means ripping up all the asphalt, redoing the grades so that the water will shed off a little more effectively, and then adding the pool in the front courtyard. And we're planning on starting the pool hopefully in late fall, which is a pretty good time to be starting pool construction, because most of those guys are busy during the summers, because that's when everybody thinks about having a pool. So we're actually getting better pricing than I would have if we had started that 6 months ago. When we first started working on the project, I wanted to maintain the old look and feel of the original windows that were in hotel buildings 1 and 2. When we started actually looking at the windows and how much work it would take to grind down every single one, replace every single pane, and then paint them, the amount of labor going into it was not really justifiable, considering the fact that we could just rip them out, put new, more energy efficient and more soundproof windows in place, which is pretty important in a boutique hotel.
There's always so many little things that you don't think of when you're on these projects that start to pop up as you're going about it. But when you're renovating a building, you're tearing out the floors, you're redoing everything, you gotta think about what the threshold is, right? We were about an inch off on the threshold here from where it needed to be. So we had the opportunity to come in here and grind down all of the concrete until it met the level of the floor within the actual suites, or we could do kind of a combination of both. So I actually ended up coming in here with another 3/4 inch plywood board, and then we just grinded it down a little bit. That way I wouldn't have to spend so much time and money on labor, and actually having another board here helps us with insulation. All the electrical is in. I think we're waiting on our final electrical inspection at this point. But these guys have to wait on framing to be finished with what they're doing, obviously, because they're having to come in here and cut through these 2x4s.
Now, electrical wiring doesn't necessarily go bad after 50 or 60 years, but when it's not cared for or maintained, the sheathing on the outside tends to deteriorate, and that could cause electrical fires. And it's one of the fun line items as an investor that you get to spend a lot of money on because nobody sees it, nobody cares, and guess what? Nobody's gonna pay you anymore on a nightly basis to stay in your hotel because you have nice, sexy new electrical wiring. Or we could just add to our marquee sign, color TV, free internet, won't catch fire. Now for the fun part. Over in the main house, which is going to be the bar and just library, hangout area, really cool, badass 1850s renovated home. The roof has been replaced, which it sorely needed. Now they're 14 feet or taller, which just makes the entire building feel significantly bigger.
Over here is where we've got what I'm envisioning to be the bottle shop, a little wine shop that we've got for Salt Ranch. And the thing with wine is you can't have direct sunlight on the bottles. So we'll be covering up these windows to get rid of that natural light coming in, but I still wanted to have some sort of natural light within the space. So we had this vacant space upstairs that we weren't planning on using for anything that had a window. And I started looking at it and I figured, you know what? Let's tear out the flooring up there, leave some of the exposed rafters just to kind of have a neat look, and let that light diffuse down so that it's not directly on any of the bottles causing any problems. And I think it's created a pretty cool moment.
Structural remediation has been completed on the building because, again, since it's from the 1850s, you can imagine it's probably settled a little bit. Things are a little bit out of place, so we had to do a little correcting. And of course, we're going back and tuck pointing a lot of the masonry. That mortar that's in between the bricks out in front of your house doesn't last all that long. It might last you 50, 60, 70 years, but after that, it actually starts to corrode and crumble out. And if that is the structural component of your house, that's a pretty big problem.
So we've redone the windows here. They're gonna be facing out over the pool area right here. And these are gonna be the bathrooms for the pool as well. It was originally just an exterior wall. We ended up saw cutting through the brick so we can create the entrance doors into the exterior bathrooms for the pool.
The mock-up room is about 75% completed now and is prepped for the flooring, trim, and other finishes. But the problem that we're having, kind of like what I addressed at the very beginning of this video, is that the furniture supplier that we had originally selected, which we have kind of based our entire interior design around, is out of China. In order for me to get a sample to put into this room, it's going to take 6 months for it to ship all the way from China to little old East Nashville. If I don't want to wait 6 months to get that sample, I'm gonna have to make a $600,000 purchase order, sight unseen, which is ridiculous. And you would think, hey, Tyler, there's plenty of furniture stores. Why can't you just go order something from them? And you're not wrong. The problem is hotel furniture is built a little bit differently because some of y'all don't really take care of hotel rooms like you do your own house, which means that they have to be built commercial grade to withstand whatever y'all are doing in there. The completion date is still a little TBD. We're aiming for March of 2025. But again, it's gonna kind of come down to making sure that we actually have beds for people to sleep in. So still aiming for March of 25. We are still looking good in terms of our construction timeline. I've just got to figure out the damn furniture.